Well, hey audio techs, I've made a pretty significant change to the layout of the mixing board at front of house in preparation for getting the new broadcast mixing board going, so let me quickly go over that with you. So the channel layout is substantially different. I've relabeled everything and changed all the banks up. This first one you'll notice now is drums, and then it's mostly the guitar type of things. You know, this is bass DI, electrics, acoustic and sax, and then a couple of spares, which used to be called percussion, but we haven't used percussion in years, so they now become spare channels. Next one is actually all the keys. So we've actually made the synth stereo, and now we have the piano and loops here. And then we put the choir next, choir left, center, and right, because they were going to be right next to all the vocals. So it's vocals 1 to 8. And we no longer are sharing that vocal 6 and 7 with Pastor Handheld 2 and 3. That never really worked super great. So now they're going to be completely separate places. The next bank then is just the pastors, which is now Pastor's Handheld, the Handheld 2 and 3, and the Lav and Lav 2. Now the way these Pastor Handhelds 2 and 3 work, they're still coming from that vocal 6 and 7 mic receivers, but the Dante inputs are duplicated. So the audio will actually show up on both channels all the time. But so whichever one you're using it for, just use that fader. And you can have then separate EQ and separate compression settings, separate recall safes, and separate sends on faders. So I think that'll be a much better system. Then we have 3 just dead spots just to keep proper separation. And then we have the more often used computers. So we have Production Mac, which is now stereo, used to be mono. Production PC, front of house PC, and then the laptop and the LED computer. Then we're using more banks than we used to use. So then we're going to have the lesser used playback sources like the Bluetooth. There's a TV in the sanctuary here, playback from USB, and the 1/8 inch, which comes from front of house. There's 2 channels you didn't even know maybe we had, but we had talkback like from the broadcast mix or the visual tech booth. And those end up on the last couple of channels on the board. What I've also done is we weren't really using these custom banks A1 and A2 here. So I've made A1 a custom bank that now has the drums and then basically all the instruments. So it just has the left side of the synth and left side of the piano, but we'll actually move both faders in the background. So that'll still work, so that we get more of the stuff onto one page. And then on the second one is all the vocals and then the choir, so that you can have that on, just another place to put that on the screen somewhere. That all correlates to these banks here. They just are broken up a little differently. The custom faders end up being about the same on this side. You just have to look out for what's there, but it's about the same as they used to be. Yeah, and then all the virtual sound check stuff was fixed to go with it, as well as the ME1s, which I'll cover now. So I made a few changes to the ME1s. It should be pretty minimal for the amount of difference to work with it, but hopefully a bit of an improvement. So all the main channels are still labeled the same. Click is still click. Team is still like a main mix from the mixing board. Drums is still a group. One little thing is that the bass is now a group, and there's been a second bass channel we're using that has more clarity. So there's the regular bass, and the bass DI has more clarity. So if you wanted more of that, you can go into the group and give yourself more of that. The synth, it says synth L because it's stereo now, but still one button to change the synth, same for piano. Acoustics and electrics are all the same. The lead vocal group and the background vocal group still work as they did. One major change though, that hopefully is an improvement, is this individual vocals. So it says individual vocals there, individual vocals. So this is now a group, and if you press the group button, you can now pick between any of the 3 choir, left, center, and right, and then any of the 8 vocals. And so if you want just a bit more of one person, or if let's say you're singing background while you're playing piano or something, you can give yourself more of yourself in the mix. To get back out of it, hit the group button again. And the rest I think is basically the same. Loops and others. PCs, this has a few less sources in it, but that's the same idea of computers. And if there's anything missing from this mix, you can just tell the sound guy and he will put that into the other channel for you. For broadcast mix, there's not going to be a lot of changes other than utility 2, 3, and 4 were used to add the extra channels in. So synth right, choir center, and production Mac right. They're still linked together, so see production Mac left is here. If I move them, they still move together. And the synth left is on this side, the right's on this side. You see they still move together. And so that's gonna be the only difference for the broadcast person. There was some changes to the snake layout as well. It's all been relabeled, but the drums stay the same. But you notice there's a pretty different layout here that actually matches as close as possible to the mixing board. And down there as well. I've actually tried to improve the tension relief, the strain relief on these cables, put them in the order they come out. They actually are color coded, and now you can actually see that. So it should be a little bit easier to work with these cables. Everything's been relabeled, and so just thought I'd let you know of that as well. So yeah, I think this will be a good change. It'll help us to do things a bit more efficiently and work well with the new mixing board. Okay, thanks guys.